Sports.
T's and C's apply.
So we'll start off in Kenya.
Yeah.
Ugandan Olympic athlete Rebecca Cheptegei was set on fire by her boyfriend, the Kenyan police say. I mean, you know, it's something which has been swept under the carpet a lot here. And I've got to be honest. So I come from two families in rural South Africa where this sort of thing, we now, as I'm getting older, you get to speak to your elders as more equal, you know, and you start to hear the stories of what our grandmothers and mothers and my aunts put up with in terms of what in the Western world is called grievous bodily harm, right? That's the term we've chosen, GBV. And you hear what they tolerated, and there's still this narrative of like, no, your husband loves you, he beats you up. Like, if he doesn't, something's wrong. And that still exists, whether people want to believe it or not, you know? So I come from rural families where that is the norm. Like, it is very normal to hear that and have women just live with it. There are no police in rural South Africa. And this story, and I'm also quite fortunate to have a mother who worked on the African continent for 20 years, from war zones to all of them. But this woman being set on fire by her boyfriend, particularly in Kenya, is not actually as rare and crazy as it sounds. It happens quite often. There is a statistic in Kenya that has been sourced, right, is 34% of women from the age of 15 onwards have experienced grievous bodily harm and abuse. I mean, what are we doing here, Kev? He set her on fire.
Yeah, I mean, there's a BBC report from February and talking about why Kenyan men fail to condemn misogyny. And one of the reasons why is that they said women just want us for our money, women do this. And he said that, and one of the activists who was at the protest said, this is the norm. And a Kenyan man shouted at the thing saying, we will kill you, we will kill you. And it struck him. You know, you talk about it happens more often. I went and looked it up. In April, another female runner, Darius Mutua, was found strangled in a home in Kenya in the Rift Valley. And that came months after record-breaking long-distance runner Agus Tirop was found stabbed to death in the same town. And one of the reasons that this has hit me particularly bad at home, she's got 75% burns to her body.
Yeah.
My late brother, his car blew up and he has 70% burns to his body. And the ICU, the doctor told me that the correlation between survival and death is the latter of the percentage. So my brother had 30% chance of living. She has got a 25% chance of living, you know, because they're going to have to take off skin off her back. And this is the horror of this thing. They're basically going to take the skin off her back. It's on her face as well. They're going to have to keep dressing her back. She's probably going to be on a dialysis machine. They will keep her in a coma. She'll be incubated. She is going to be going through the horror of horrors because she had a fight with her boyfriend and he felt the only way is to save his honor possibly, or to be a man, was to pour petrol and set her on fire. So, I mean, it's a disgrace, and if more Kenyan athletes and more South African athletes do not come out and condemn it, I think about Mpimpi in 2019 whenever he scored that try in the warm-up game, when he held the name of the young lady who was killed in the post office in Cape Town on his wristband. We need this. We need to condemn it. I mean, as South Africans, black, white, whatever, I'm Irish Catholic, and this happens in Ireland a lot.
Absolutely, and I think, listen, this is not unique to here, but 1 in 3 women in Kenya have experienced, I mean, from 15 onwards, 1 in 3. A society where women and children are not safe is no place to live. You cannot, everything burns if your women and children are not safe. They are quite literally your future. So we must condemn this as human beings. Like, this is a human travesty that this is still happening. And for me, the other big thing is it's okay for people to ignore it. But what happens when it's your mom and your sister? People must think about that. You must think about, what if that was my mother and my sister? Would you ignore it then? And, you know, I'm Mr. Soapbox guy at the best of times, but this one for me is absolutely egregious, and we must call it out. And I think for me, I would encourage people to really think about it, because it's a personal issue for men. Is we are part of the problem, and I'm not saying you are abusive. I'm saying you can't ignore it when Africa's best men come through and you say, okay, I'm African then. And then when the dark side comes out, you say, no, I'm not a part of that. Like, you're either an African man or you're not. We are a part of this. And if we don't address it, nobody in Europe's coming to kill our women. We're killing our women. No, like, stop this narrative. Nobody's coming from anywhere. We are burning. We are killing our women. We have to stop it. No Swiss guy is going to come here and stop it. Like, it is our problem. And if we don't solve it, it'll continue. Kev, I'll finish off on this, right? Is, for me, the issue is, look at these high value women that it's happening to. If it's happening to them, I think this is the scariest part. If it's happening to them, what about the normal woman just in the street who we don't know of?
Yeah.
That's what I worry about.
So one last thing for me. Roddy Doyle wrote a book, the Irish writer wrote a book called The Woman Who Fell Downstairs a Lot. If you see a woman with a black eye, if you see a woman wearing sunglasses, if you see a woman sad and she's got a cut which she wouldn't have before, or limping, ask her if she's okay. You know, that's the basic thing. Start with that. Ask the person if she's okay. Don't be afraid.
Absolute insanity. 0788777716. Ugandan Olympic athlete Rebecca Cheptegei, who was burned by her boyfriend, is currently in ICU, and we will, obviously, that is a developing story there. All right, let's move on to Flushing Meadows. The men's US Open final will have an American in it for the first time since 2005. Taylor Fritz will play Francis Tiafoe in the semi-final. Well, here's what Taylor Fritz thought of his performance in the semi-final.
I don't know. That could be an interesting one. Obviously, he's a very good player, and when he's on, he's very, very on. He's very good. And Foe, I mean, if it's Foe, that's gonna be a lot of fun, and that's gonna be just electric. And yeah, I think that would be awesome for the fans as well, to be guaranteed that one of us is gonna be going to the finals.
Good to have an American male in the final there. There's also big news from the women's draw. Jessica Pegula upset the world number one Iga Swiatek in a straight set 6-2, 6-4 to set up a semi-final with Czech Karolina Muchova. They will meet tomorrow morning in the Flushing Meadows. And she's from New York, so this is absolutely great. They are going ballistic for her there, Kev. Good for her. Good for Jessica.
Great. And she's a New Yorker. She's 30 years old. She's never made it past the quarterfinals. And for her, she said, I'm in the semifinals. I was playing in a quarterfinal prime time. The crowd just brought me through. And there's every chance that she's going to make it into the final. I think, and we'll talk about this later in my betting, but she seems to be a favorite to get into the final.
A favorite to get in the final. Another favorite, Yannick Sinner destroyed Daniil Medvedev 6-2, 6-1, 6-1, 6-4 to set up a meeting with the great British hope Jack Draper in the semi-final. Draper's fairy tale run at Flushing Meadows continued as he powered to a straight set victory over Aussie Alex de Minaur, winning 6-3, 7-5, 6-2. He looked really, really good, Kev. I must tell you, that is absolutely going to be awesome. We're hoping the All Blacks announce their team in time for the show. We always love breaking news on Omni Sport Breakfast. So we're hoping that Razor comes out with his comb over and says, oh, guys, I'm going to do the spinneroonie and then announce for the Omni Sport Breakfast, because the All Blacks play South Africa tomorrow. Question of the day for today: the Euro 2000 final between France and Italy was decided by a golden goal. Which player scored that goal? Coming up, Poch in the USA, or is he?
Let's go. Streaming data free on the MTN network in South Africa.
This is Omni Sports.
T's and C's apply.